about pies.
Let's talk about pies.
Sugar.
Sugar. I know, it's from that beautiful,
flour,
beautiful
sugar,
musical, Waitress the musical.
Sugar, butter, flour.
With music by
Sarah B.
Lady Sarah B.
Lady Sarah B.
God, I love her so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have not seen her in concert yet, but I'm dying to.
No, I know you are.
When concerts come,
right.
I had a
when
ticket.
Concerts are a thing again.
You know what's funny is I had a ticket to Sarah Bareilles, right?
Yeah.
I had a ticket to see, or I had two, right, to a concert, and it ended up being, this was years ago, and it ended up being the only time I could go to Fire Island.
Oh.
So I sold them, and I went to Fire Island,
okay.
which I
and
realized
you sold along
was a mistake. I was like, oh, okay. Now, I had never been before.
Right.
And I was young, and I thought like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
Which is, that's the problem.
Right.
What I'm supposed to do. I
right.
say in quotation marks.
FOMO.
Right. Yeah. Don't live that life.
Yeah.
No, in hindsight, I wish I would have gone to that concert.
Yeah.
But whatever, it'll make my concert experience with her amazing when it does happen finally.
True.
When, we can have concerts again.
Right. So I bring up pies because, as part of our journey to Capitol Reef, we're told by someone that had listened to our podcast, they had emailed us specifically knowing that we were taking this trip. And we were like, listen, you have to go to this pie place and get these pies. So we got these pies. I think this was after we were done hiking for the day. I'm telling the story now only because it's hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So we got these pies and we waited all day. When we, got back to our hotel before dinner, we put the pies away. And then I was like, listen, I think it would be hilarious if we film a video of you singing
one of these waitress songs while eating these pies.
And we send them to this person that recommended that we, we get the pies in the first place, which you were all for. I think we were also just delirious at this point.
Totally.
So it was like, yeah, let's do that. That sounds like a great idea. Now, the person had emailed us. I think it was Kelly. Kelly
was the name.
Right.
And we got an email from a Kelly. Yeah. And we'd interacted with Kelly on Instagram. And we were like, oh, great. Okay, perfect. So we filmed this video and then we send it off to this Kelly that we had talked to on Instagram. Mm-hmm. Not the same Kelly.
Totally different Kelly. They were like, thanks for this.
Thanks so much for this. We haven't been to Capitol Reef before.
We're going in the fall.
And I was like,
and we'll definitely get
what?
pies.
And then we checked the email name against the Instagram name.
Yep.
Totally different Kelly.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And we were like, okay, well, okay.
Yeah. And we cackled
fully.
Like crazy people because we were so delirious from it all.
We were.
But those pies were damn good.
Oh, great recommendation.
Do yourself a favor. Get yourself some pies from Capitol Reef and then send a video to someone you don't know.
That's right. There you go.
It's the Capitol Reef Challenge.
It's the Capitol Reef. It's perfect.
Right.
Looking for adventure, I want to follow on the trail, or get a little lost and let the wind fill my sails. Get up when the stars still fill the sky, don't wake the sun, there's so much to be done, and the day has just begun. Go where the postcards are real, you can feel, you can open your eyes and open your heart when you gaze at the national park.
Follow you there.
At the national park. At the national park. Follow you, I'll follow you there.
We had just finished hiking the Grand Wash Trail. We'd made it to our Airbnb in Torrey. Torrey is west of Capitol Reef National Park. Mm-hmm. Capitol Reef National Park runs north-south, essentially, and Torrey is to the west.
Right, Highway 24 kind of cuts through the park.
Of the Fruta section. So we were there. We talked in our last episode about how it felt like we were the only ones there on this side of the road motel.
Right.
It's very, like, if it were the middle of the night and we were pulling in, I would feel like, oh my God, could be very creepy.
Right. Murdery.
Right. It wasn't. It was very comfortable.
We're alive.
We had a great time.
Right.
And we'd stay there again.
Oh, yeah, totally. It was
so,
great.
Yeah. This episode is all about hiking Chimney Rock.
Right, which is the last thing that we were able to do while we were in Capitol Reef. When we originally pulled in the morning, we had spent some time talking to the rangers at the visitor center. Now, we always do our own little bit of research prior to coming to a park to really see what's possible for us to hike and, what we'd want to do. For example, when we went to Black Canyon and the Gunnison, I had done a lot of research ahead of time to see what was possible to hike. Most of that ended up being under North Rim, which was closed, unfortunately. So the rangers really do provide us with a lot of insight, not only for, things to be aware of or be careful of in the parks, but there are people that are in the parks all the time. So they have a great amount of insight into what things to hike, what's possible, and what's doable. So this was one of the things that was definitely recommended was Chimney Rock. We kind of knew since we were staying in Torrey, Chimney Rock is kind of at that western edge of the park. It's one of like the hikes that is sort of like at the end there. And it's also a jumping off point for backcountry hiking. That would probably be the last thing that we did, whether it was one on our exit out of the park or whether it was something that we came back to do. This is one of the parks where we were staying probably the closest, I would say. It made it very accessible for us to do this hike. And this is also where, the plan was to do that other maybe hike in the morning because we were so close and we had to pass back through the park anyway.
Right. We were very close.
Right. This was the trail that was going to be our end in Capitol Reef.
After finding our Airbnb and like taking a moment for ourselves to just like recharge
and decompress,
we were like, okay, let's go get some food. Yeah. And let's go to a local place. And we found this lovely little restaurant.
It was on the way back into the park, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
So there weren't a ton of restaurants. It's not like a lively, thriving kind of like in the way that like Zion has like a lovely, thriving town, like right there, like at the entrance. There's definitely, a general store. There's definitely some hotels, motels.
It's also not like a one-horse town, though.
No, it's not like a one-horse town. But I'm saying, like, you could walk from one site to the next. There is definitely significant space.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is not like a downtown area, is what I'm saying.
Remember, Utah is all pretty spread out, from what we had seen in our travels.
We found this restaurant that was open.
Which was hard to do because I actually think I think we said in the last episode that we were at the visitor center late, but I just think the visitor center might have closed early on that day because I think we were trying to get to dinner at like 4 or 5 o'clock. I think we were like, let's eat real fast and then we can get on this trail. And we knew how long the trail was going to be. And we're like, oh, we can do that. And this time it won't be dark by then.
Right.
Lies that we told ourselves.
The lies we tell ourselves. That's our other podcast. Right. The lies we tell ourselves. So we find this place for dinner, which was very good. I will say it was a little pricey.
Yeah, but it was like kind of like after a long day, it was like well worth it.
We're going to do it.
I think it was Mexican cuisine, actually.
Yeah. It was good.
Yeah.
I remember it was very good.
Yeah.
We had a good time. It was like a sit down restaurant with a server, if we remember what that is prior to this pandemic.
Right.
But yeah, we eat. And we're like, all right from there, we head right back into the park. So
which is, again, like literally a stone's throw.
Now, it'll only take us like 12 minutes to drive to like the trailhead for this trail. So we get in the car and we head down the road. We get to the parking lot. This trail is also the start of many backcountry hikes.
Right.
The parking lot was pretty full. It was this sort of U-shaped parking lot, but we found a parking spot and everything was good.
There's bathrooms there too.
I don't remember if we brought our poles with us to do Chimney Rock.
We did. We had them.
We had them. Okay,
yeah,
great.
we had them. And we also were like, I think it's probably time to layer up because we knew that the temperature was going to drop because also it's, the desert and these are things that happen. So I think we both still had shorts on, but we had like top layers that we had put on in anticipation of this.
And I had put in my bag, I had this beanie that had like a pop-in light
Yeah.
that I brought with me in case it got dark.
Right.
So we headed off.
Right.
To describe the first section of this hike, I would call the first section of this hike the flat section.
It's not very long, though.
It's not very long. No. The flat section is short. From the parking lot, walk straight out before it eventually starts curving to the right.
Mm-hmm.
And when it starts curving to the right, that is when the terrain changes.
Right.
So part one is just this flat area that was sort of introductory to the landscape.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're walking through the desert terrain,
Mm-hmm.
and then you start curving to the right.
Right. So Chimney Rock is a 3.5 mile trail loop. It doesn't start as a loop. It's almost like a balloon, basically, if you were to think about it like that. The first part that Dusty was describing, and then the ascent, which is a lot of like kind of rugged, switchbacky upward movement. That's like the string of the balloon, and then the loop at the top is the balloon, essentially. There's an elevation change of about 580 feet. It is a trail that is pretty popular, and it literally is kind of just inside the west entrance to Capitol Reef along Highway 24. It's the best short path, apparently, in the national park. It's relatively short, and it's not too steep, which is why I think, when we got there at dusk, we were very confident that it would be something that we would be able to finish before the sun was out of the sky. Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing is probably the most appropriate word here.
Mm-hmm. We did start on this very flattish section, but then the terrain does change pretty drastically, and it's a lot craggier. It's a lot rockier. You're kind of on these hills as you head up. Chimney Rock is actually a feature. It is a very distinct feature that you can see, and it's beautiful. And we were not that far on the trail, and we get a really great glimpse of Chimney Rock. Now, it also happens to be magic hour. And for those of you not familiar with what magic hour is, it's when the light is at such an angle that basically everything, when it comes to photographing, is at its most beautiful. Let's talk about magic hour in the desert.
Oh my God. Magic hour in the desert is there's nothing nothing compares to you. I'm singing the Sinead O'Connor song.
I get it. I understand. It's on my playlist all the time. I just sit in my bed and cry and listen to it.
Right.
We hadn't really been in a situation where we were so close to a national park where we were able to see magic hour in the desert. I say that with the exception of Zion. We were in Zion pretty late the 2 days that we were there, so we did get to see. But the elevation that we were at and the position we were at in Capitol Reef, you are seeing such a wide expanse. So at Chimney Rock, as we're, not far up this incline section of the trail, we are just shutterbugs, snapping photos and just taking everything in because it was breathtaking. There's really nothing like it. So I definitely recommend if at some point you make your way to Capitol Reef and can hike Chimney Rock and are lucky enough to do it in the twilight hours, do it in the twilight hours.
Oh, most certainly.
Right.
There was definitely a lot of let's take pictures, take as many pictures as we can.
Right.
And then also take a moment to just be here and not take pictures.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think that's what we do pretty well. We get what we can, and then we kind of take the moment to appreciate. It's definitely not snap and go by any means.
No.
It's more of bend and snap.
We never hike anything just to take photos of it.
No,
ever.
No. We're, continue our route up. We're not really seeing that many people. There are a few that do pass us on the way down as we're headed up, but we're just kind of gobsmacked by how beautiful everything is. Jaws agape, staring out into the beautiful desert wonder. And with that, let's take our first break.
We're playing One Has to Go, something we play on the trail all the time.
Mm-hmm.
List of 3, but one has to go.
Right.
All right, I'm giving you mine first.
Great.
Okay, here you go. Fresh baked sourdough bread.
Uh-huh.
Olive Garden breadsticks.
Mm-hmm.
Biscuits. One has to
sourdough.
Go. Really? Why is that?
That was easy.
Why?
Because biscuits are delicious, and honestly, I think they put PCP in those Olive Garden breadsticks because they are just buttery and the stuff
Buttery
of dreams
goodness and the stuff of dreams.
Right.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
What about you?
Oh, see, I'm really liking sourdough these days.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I really like it too, but biscuits and breadsticks, oh my.
I might have to say sourdough too.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't get rid of Olive Garden breadsticks. No thanks. I mean, I haven't had them in a long time.
Right.
But biscuits are just like, biscuits make me think of home. So yeah. I just don't think I could ever get rid of them.
Great.
So there we go.
So great. Here's mine. Mine are sitcom side characters. Ready?
Great.
Kenneth the Page from 30 Rock, Gary from Veep, or Andy Dwyer from Parks and Rec.
Who's Andy Dwyer?
Chris Pratt.
Oh, he can go. Sorry about it. I literally was like, wait, who's that? I thought you were going to say Andy from The Office, to which I was like, obviously him. But no, obviously Chris Pratt too. I think he's so funny. And I think, like that character is really funny. Mm-hmm. But Kenneth isn't going anywhere.
No.
Kenneth goes nowhere. And then the second one was...
Gary from Veep.
And he's going absolutely... Wait, Gary is played by Tony Hale. Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. No, Tony Hill goes nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. Right.
Great.
No, but so which is why I have to get rid of, Andy Dwyer. What about you?
Yeah, that's a tough one for me. These are, 3 sitcoms I enjoy. I don't think you can get rid of Kenneth without like the weirdness of 30 Rock and like his like long lifespan as like a weird Earth Angel type person, which is such a ridiculous plot point. I might have to get rid of Gary, but I don't know. I feel like that's so hard.
Blasphemy.
I know, because there's so much set up with him and Selena, essentially. Yeah. I do feel like Gary's character, though, the only reason I'll say Gary is because I feel like it's an elevated Buster Bluth, like from Arrested Development. Like, I don't feel like Tony Hale stretched too far to do that role, which is fine, but I do feel like, I enjoy Chris Pratt and his pratfalls.
Wow. Wow.
So there you go.
All right.
Okay. And that's one has to go.
So as you make your way up what we'll call the string of the balloon, that is the shape of the Chimney Rock Trail, that's when you get that spectacular view of Chimney Rock.
Right.
There's this curved sort of ledge that's right there. Mm-hmm. Beyond that curve is Chimney Rock, and you can see it right there.
Which juts out basically from the mesa, essentially, we're going to call it, that you're hiking on. It's a jut out, essentially, off of that.
So you get a beautiful, beautiful view of it, and that is where we were leaving. From right here, you continue on the trail, and that brings you up to the juncture of the loop part of the trail.
The balloon.
Or
the balloon
part of the balloon. Right, exactly. The base of the balloon.
Right. We decided at this point that we are going to go counterclockwise around this loop. And that would also bring us closer to Chimney Rock faster. So we would actually get more views along the way. Although the trail itself is not as close to the ledge as you would think going out. You can still see off into the distance and see parts of Chimney Rock as you continue to hike. Now, as you're hiking up, there's still more incline here, so it's not as drastic as it was for the tail of the balloon, but now that we're in the loop part of the balloon, we are still facing some slight incline as we're going up. But at this point, we're still in that magic hour, and there is still a lot of desert to look at around us. We've gained a lot more elevation. You can see all the way down Highway 24, further east into the park. It is just nothing but desert vastness and like rock formations and mesas and chimneys, oh my.
Yeah, I remember standing there going like, oh, this is what it's all about.
Yeah, it was definitely like, that was like magic. That was truly magic, and it truly just reminded me of what is so important about our natural spaces, what's important about preserving our public lands, how restorative and beautiful nature can be in that one moment right there. It really did kind of like coalesce everything just in that second. And it was hard to like pull ourselves away. I think I was just like a moth to a flame, kind of like, again, we were hiking, but I think our eyes weren't necessarily as focused on the trail as typical because there was so much off to our right that we were just like astounded by.
After we had turned right and sort of looped around and banked around the sort of first curve in what is the balloon of this trail, which is sort of like a long, flat balloon.
Mm-hmm.
it's relatively flat up there at the top.
Yeah.
And
for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
When you're parallel to the highway, sort of, it's flat up that way.
Right.
Yeah.
You can see so much in every direction.
Right.
We could see, essentially where the visitor center was. We could see beyond it. We could see over toward Torrey. You can see everything.
Right. You can actually even see the start of the backcountry hikes because there were definitely some routes that, like, having the map and knowing that this was just kind of a circle at the top, we're like, oh, what's that over there? And so that's where a bunch of the backcountry, there's like a Chimney Rock trail that does jet off from that. That's like the Chimney Rock backcountry like trail, essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
And it made me, next time we go, I would want to do some of that.
Yeah, that's long. That's a long one.
It's a long one.
Yeah.
But I'd be down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'd need lots of days in Capitol Reef next time.
I'm not complaining about that.
No, I'm not complaining about that either.
We could do that wash trail I wanted to do that we didn't get a chance to.
We could. And have enough time to like do it one way and then turn around and go back.
Yeah, so we don't have to hitchhike because no one will pick us up. Right. But the light starts to get lower and lower as we're up here. In the distance, there's these 3 mesas that are kind of towards the top, like the opposite end of the tail of the balloon that we came up. Sorry that balloon has become our metaphor for this trail. It's happening.
It's happening.
And they're so beautiful in the distance. As we're hiking towards them, we do get a little descent here. This is where we start to kind of come down a little bit. And we're heading towards those mesas, which is really cool. We actually ended up getting incredibly close to those mesas. And that's like kind of like the halfway point of the hike. This is also the point where we are both definitely feeling a little bit of concern, like there's no way we're finishing this hike with light in the sky.
With light.
Still. Mm-hmm.
However, right there in that moment, like looking at those 3 mesas, the sunset was so spectacular and so full of color. This is what inspires paintings.
Yeah.
Like that is what I thought looking at them.
Mm-hmm.
I took as many photos of that as I could, and it was like, when I get really amazing at painting, then maybe I'll attempt this.
Yes, I do remember you talking about that.
It was like, I do want to remember this moment and what this looks like and how that feels. Maybe you can put that feeling into the artwork. This was the moment we were like, okay, we are probably going to be hiking back in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
And that is just that. Luckily, I had that hat with the light in it.
Right.
Which was not a proper
headlamp.
No. But it was a light.
And we both had cell phones with flashlights. And we were like, you know what? We do have some lights somehow, some way. Mm-hmm.
And we do know that we are probably going to do a portion of this trail in the dark. Right. But we also were not interested in racing to get back.
No.
We were like, well, if we're in the dark, we're in the dark. And that's just that.
And with that, let's take our next break.
Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between, please welcome to the stage
Anna Ledge.
On a ledge. I'm sure there is a queen named on a ledge somewhere, but...
well, if there's not, we got her.
Mm-hmm.
Right. On a ledge is definitely a queen that speaks to any sort of hiking on high terrain.
Well, sure.
Yeah,
have you seen those heels that are so high that you're on your toes and the heel, right? Those
haven't you seen my closet?
Right. That's what I think she wears.
Okay. She's on her tippy toes at all times.
Yes.
Basically.
I don't know how she walks.
No.
She probably has to have.
Yeah.
She's holding on to things on the sides or something.
Well, I feel like she's friends with Cat on a
Hottenroof.
Right. Yeah.
They're both German queens.
They're German queens.
Kat and Anna.
But I do feel like Anna is also a nod to Anna from Frozen. She could be a nod to
on a ledge.
Mm-hmm, on a ledge. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
There's a lot of references happening here.
There is. Let's get wild. What else do we have but our imaginations these days?
Seriously. I feel like she's a sweet queen. Right.
Yeah.
I feel like she's a nice queen in the same way that Anna is nice and scrappy.
Yeah. Yeah. She's she's definitely a do-it-herself kind of gal. She doesn't need anybody. But,
okay. I retract what I said about those high heels because I don't feel like those are on brand for her now.
Oh, okay. You're taking it back.
I'm taking it back.
Great.
She's a kindness queen.
She's a kindness queen.
Yeah.
Great. I feel like she is also a climber. Like, you know what I mean? Like for being on a ledge. And I feel like in her harness, she like will come out in climbing gear, and then from her harness, a gown will spill down. Like it's a transformative
like
harness.
a reveal. But it reveals into a gown. Oh, so she like starts the number looking like she's like hiking a trail.
Or about to climb.
Or about to climb something.
Like to top rope something. Or,
and then it turns into a gown. Oh, fascinating.
She rappels in, actually, down a rope. And, you know, as she reaches the bottom, her harness turns into the gown.
Well, I think she is doing it.
Got a lot of wild ideas here.
Right. I think she's coming down, and she's being brought down by another queen named Cara Beaner. And she's being brought down onto the stage.
Great.
Right.
They're double acts.
Yes.
Right. What song does she sing?
Well, now I'm thinking it's like Some Things Never Change from Frozen 2.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. She could do like a montage.
She could.
Like a song, like a mashup, I feel like. But
she
dancier.
Could. I think she might also do I'm Not a Girl, Not Yet a Woman by Britney Spears. Because Britney spent so much time on ledges in that music video.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like she could also sing the
like for her like serious moment, right?
Yeah. I feel like she could also sing the Panic at the Disco cover of Into the Unknown.
Oh.
That might be her, because that's like a little poppier and like a little like
that might work.
Or that's like that's her entrance music maybe, and then it transitions to something.
Yeah.
I don't know. We've got lots of plans for Anna Ledge.
We have lots of plans for her. She has a great show planned.
She does.
She does. So, ladies, gentlemen, everyone in between, please welcome to the stage
On a Ledge.
We are standing there looking at the beautiful, beautiful, vast, open desert that Capitol Reef is offering.
Right.
At a magic hour for light.
Right. A little past magic hour at this point.
A little past magic hour.
But like residual, like purple light. Like
starting to get a little cooler. Feeling it. Grateful that we have layers on. Even though, you know, just earlier it had been very hot. Yeah. Right? But that's the desert for you.
Desert climates.
Right? Desert climates.
Other desert cities.
Right.
Right.
We essentially like make the turn in the loop to start heading back toward the juncture.
Right.
There's the sign that says, you know, to Chimney Rock Canyon route. And that is the backcountry route. And we have to go in the other direction.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it would be so fun to do the backcountry route.
Yeah. With no light whatsoever.
Yeah. With no light. That would not be smart.
No.
Not smart.
No.
But we knew that because of what we saw on the map, that we were essentially halfway back.
Well, halfway around that loop, yeah.
Yeah, around the loop.
Yeah.
Right. So we made the turn and we start heading off toward, you know, back to the juncture of the balloon.
Right. And at this point, like, we're starting to conserve battery power on our phones. So I had my regular camera with me, so I was taking most of my photos with that, so that I made sure that I had enough battery life to use the flashlight. We knew that you had your headlamp plus your phone.
I say headlamp in quotation marks.
Yeah. Your beanie lamp.
Beanie light.
Right.
I'll call it.
Yeah. It's really at this point, as we kind of like hit the turnoff for the Chimney Rock Canyon route, that it's starting to get like noticeably darker. That things are starting to progress where it's like, okay, flashlights are going to be a thing soon.
Now, to describe this walk back is like, for a little while, you're up on top of the mesa that you feel like you're hiking on, but then you like dip down to behind it.
Right.
And there is what feels like a valley that you're on like the left side of.
Right.
And that you have the mesa that is the rest of the Chimney Rock Trail up on your left. And then it slopes down and you have an open valley, and then you have some sort of other land over here on the right.
Right.
But because you are behind everything, that's not necessarily the place where you're getting all of the views that you were getting on the other part of the hike.
Right. No. Well, I mean, you can still see those three mesas that are towards the back.
Sure.
Like, that's still very visible. They're beautiful, but you're not seeing Highway 24 anymore. Like, all of that's cut off from you. You're kind of like pinned between the Chimney Rock Trail Mesa and like a wall of other rock, essentially, in this valley. This is like a little craggier as we're looking up ahead. Like, we're like, ooh, we're going to definitely be on this in the dark. And like, this is not, I don't feel as, I'm not afraid, but I'm like not as comfortable as what we just were on, which was easier, I feel like, to have been on in the dark.
Yes.
Also, finding trails in the dark.
Finding trails in the dark, right.
But thank you, Utah, for having well-marked trails.
That's right.
Right.
And also, you know, this was our first time really hiking in the dark.
Right.
And yeah, it was dark. As in, as soon as we lost the light, there was seeing nothing.
Yeah.
There was nothing, right?
Yeah.
Right before we lost all the light, I got out my beanie and I put it on and I turned it on. And that was pretty helpful for a little while. Also, we were like, oh, look, this is an amount of light that is like shining bright in front of us. And that's helpful.
Right.
And then I felt like our eyes adjusted a little bit. And then after that, it was less helpful.
Yeah.
And we needed to add our phone lights.
Right.
And then once we added our phone lights, the beanie light was essentially not helpful at all.
Right. You still kept it on, though.
I did.
think it was just like, you know, having that extra light wasn't a bad thing. This is about the 3/4 of the way around the, you know, balloon part of our time on Chimney Rock Trail that we were in the full dark. So we had a little bit left to, you know, do. And actually the part that I was nervous about going up through the dark wasn't as bad. It actually made a lot more sense because I think if it was a flat trail at this point, it may have been easier to have lost. But because there were some steps and some things like that, it was actually much clearer as to what to do. There were only so many directions that you could go, and it made a lot more sense. Climbing things in the dark, not the best, but it did make the sense to kind of be able to understand the trail better.
Sure, certainly. I remember walking through the dark and I was like, it wasn't too bad. It was like a different new challenge. And I was like, all right, this is definitely something, a good reason to just have a really solid headlamp in the bag all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. It actually isn't long at that point before we hit that trail juncture again, which is the string of our balloon. We're able to, in a much easier way, retrace our steps at this point because it's something that we'd already done. We do have to like come down. This is where most of our incline was. So this is like kind of steep decline in some spots. There's also like things to step down onto. It's not just a slope. There are like parts that you had to step up onto things. So there was the care that was happening there and, you know, ensuring that you weren't tumbling or falling.
And also there's like no one on this trail with us.
Oh no, we're fully by ourselves. Yeah.
I think we might have seen the people who were behind us a little bit, like at the beginning, a little bit ahead of us.
Well, I do think that when we were headed back to the car, when we were on this downward, we could see like someone was finishing up on the trail. There was like a light that was finishing, and we could actually see, even though the light was low, we could see that must have been where the parking lot was. Because I think there was a light for a light by the bathroom in the parking lot. So you could kind of like see that.
Right. We're walking down the trail from the juncture and we're going down the downhill, and then eventually we make it to the flat part again.
Right.
I remember walking through the flat section and going like, okay, we're almost there. And then it was like, oh, we're there. Like, but it was so dark that you could like, it was kind of hard to tell like, oh, that's the parking lot. Like it was hard to gauge where how far the parking lot was from where we were.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Distance was a hard thing to judge in, you know, every way. But yeah, we were able to basically get back to the car pretty seamlessly and without any issues. We headed off back to our roadside motel in Torrey, sent a video of pies to the wrong people, and then basically kind of crashed. Like we had been hiking, I think that day after looking at our phones to like check distance, I think it was something like a 13 or 14 mile day. Like by the time we had done everything, like it was a long one. But it was great. Like, I think that, you know, when you really think about everything, we did all of that in one single day.
We did all of that in one day. Everything we did, all 4 episodes of Capitol Reef were one day.
Right. Which like speaks to the compact sort of nature of the park, but also just like if you really want to do it, it's possible. Like, you just have to want to like be able to see that much in that amount of time. Yeah. And I don't feel like we rushed through anything. Like,
no,
I think we were appropriately able to take in everything that we wanted to. The one thing that I wish that we had gotten to the Chimney Rock Trail just a little earlier, like maybe by a half hour, just to see like everything like in the light and just to spend more time there. But I feel like at the front end of that trail, we spent so much time just like really taking in the views and taking in everything that we were seeing.
Well, we were totally surprised by Capitol Reef because we did not expect it to be such a beautiful, exciting, magnificent playground with the spectacular views that it has. Okay, let's put Chimney Rock on the Karen Stone scale.
I'm going to say a 3. I don't think that it was actually all that difficult. I think the difficulty came in with losing light. Even though you had a lot of incline at the beginning of the hike, I don't think that it was super, super tough. Most of the top of the hike was accessible and I feel like easy to do. I think the hardest part is that front section.
Yeah, my instinct was to say 4, but then like recalling all of the majority of it is pretty flat and easy.
Right.
The only time that it sort of is tough is on the incline during the string of the balloon.
Right.
So I'm going to also say 3.
Great. A 6 out of 20.
6 out of 20 on the Karen Stone scale, everyone. Let's end this episode with some Jeopardy style trivia.
Great.
All right, let's do it.
Great.
I will start with my category.
Perfect.
My category is called Building Landform.
Okay.
Which is sort of how Capitol Reef gets its name.
Sure.
It's named Capitol because they say like, it looks like the Capitol building.
Right.
And then Reef from the landform. So
great. I was also thinking of Chimney Rock, even though it's not a building, it's a part of a building.
Part of a building.
Chimney and then rock.
Right. So part of a building, landform, right?
Great.
So in this category, I'm going to describe something that is a landform that looks like a kind of building, and then you have to give me the Capitol Reef inspired name.
Okay.
Ready? For 100.
Right.
This small piece of land surrounded on all sides by water, if it featured 5 distinct sides like that of the famous government building in Washington, D.C.
What is Pentagon Island?
That is correct. For 200. This formation of cascading water, if it were as tall as the world-famous New York City skyscraper whose name reflects the state's wealth and resources.
What is the Empire State Waterfall?
Sure, I'll take it. Or you could just call it Empire Falls.
Okay, that's fine.
Great. 300. This high, elevated, and dangerous ledge, if the land formation below it was long and not very wide, but resembled the shape of this famous New York building found at 5th Avenue and 23rd Street.
What is the Flatiron Cliff?
That is correct. Look at you. So good. You're nailing this category. For 400. This would be the name of a small sheltered bay if the cliffs along it resembled the Gothic architecture of these religious buildings that also serve as a Catholic bishop's home parish.
What is the Cathedral Lagoon?
Not lagoon.
What is the Cathedral Harbor?
No. A sheltered bay is known as a cove.
Oh, okay.
Cathedral Cove.
Great. That also sounds like a soap opera.
It does.
That's you know,
very
we could tease this
Thornbirds
out.
inspired,
Yeah.
right? Okay, and finally 500. This formation that looks like a giant hole in the ground, if it featured natural interconnected switchbacks that resembled this relatively new structure found in New York City's Hudson Yards.
Oh God, I'm like, can't remember the name of the thing. It looks like a beehive
Yes.
or like a pine cone. It's got, I can't remember what it is, but it's a crater, something crater.
Or canyon.
Or canyon, okay.
I was looking for Vessel Canyon.
The Vessel.
Or Vessel Crater,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
There
the
you
vessel.
go.
Things I could not remember.
Vessel. I know. They were actually having like a Twitter contest to name it. I called it the apparatus. I mean, because that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Just an apparatus.
Great. I just want to also point out that I did a landmass category one time and you like gave me a ton of shit for doing it, and you were really mad, and I was a good sport. So I just want to like let it be known.
And I was the good sport.
Let the record show.
Sister rulebook over here. Also,
who harbored that resentment until this moment in time.
No, I think no. Hold on. Your name is no longer Sister Rulebook. It's Sister Scorebook because you keep score over there all the time.
I am a scorekeeper.
And on January 7th.
And you used all my paper towels.
Oh God.
Great. My Jeopardy is called Chimney Chim.
Great.
And it's all about chimney sweeps.
Oh, great.
I did some research on chimney sweeps and the history of sweeps because we were at Chimney Rock and I figured it was appropriate. So I've got 5 questions to ask you. So Chimney Chim for 100. When it was finally outlawed for boys and girls to be chimney sweeps in 19th century England, Joseph Glass invented the chimney sweep brush, which is still used to this day. Originally, the brushes were made from this type of bone, which may have been a bonus to the makers of lamp fuel at the time, which came from large maritime creatures.
Oh, what is whalebone?
Correct. Chimney Chim for 2. Chimney sweeps used to tie a rope around the neck of this animal that we now use wooden cutouts of dogs to keep off of large lawns and force it to fly up the chimney, which would help clean the soot, yanking it back down once it had reached the top to help clean it some more.
Oh my God. They put a rope around an animal?
Mm-hmm. And forced it to fly up the chimney.
What is
and we use cutouts.
What is a crow?
Mm-mm. What do we use cutouts of dogs on big lawns to keep off?
Oh, what are geese?
Yes. What's a goose or a geese?
Oh.
Isn't that
I didn't
horrific?
know that that's what those cutouts were for.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Did you think
Great.
they were just decorative?
I knew they were for something.
This family really wanted a dog, but they couldn't have it. So they cut a silhouette of the dog and they just put it on the lawn.
Hey, simulate and stimulate are only one letter different. Oh God, how horrible.
Yeah.
That's not kind to
Oh
geese.
no. The history of chimney sweeps is like fascinating and
dark.
dire and dark. Yeah.
Well,
get ready.
Okay, I'm ready.
For 300. The largest statue of a chimney sweep in the world exists in McPherson, Kansas. When the owner of a chimney sweep company bought the prior business, he changed it from a baker to a sweep, morphing this item in the baker's hand to a sweep's brush.
Is it like a something like for pizza?
No, but it's kind of like the same shape, but smaller.
What is a rolling pin?
No.
A cutting board.
A cutting board is not the same shape as like a pizza like
well, one end of it.
Pizza paddle.
What's the spoon?
Yeah, what is a wooden spoon?
Oh, okay.
There you go. Kind of the same shape but smaller.
Okay, great.
Okay, great. Spatula would have been the thing, I guess I would have said there if you'd give me that clue. Okay, great. Chimney for 400. On New Year's Day, chimney sweeps would carry this savory and incredibly smart farm animal down the street. For a small sum of money, people would pull the hair from this animal and make a wish.
Oh, what is a pig?
That's correct. Very good. And for 500. Climbing boys or child chimney sweeps are honored yearly in an event which coincides with this May holiday, which celebrates spring through dancing, singing, and cake, and coincidentally was the only day chimney sweeps were given off of work.
This May holiday?
Mm-hmm.
What is May Day?
That's correct.
Oh.
Look at you go. You listened to those clues. You used your deductive reasoning. You're so smart.
This is you going like, unlike usual. Unlike usual when you get mad and
when you don't listen to my clues that I thoughtfully write.
You always write thoughtful clues.
Sister Scorebook has the score.
They say that about Libras. They say that Libras never forget. They're like, oh, I remember when he got upset with me that one time in the middle of the week 17 years ago. I'll never forget it.
That's why I think Liz Lemon is a Libra.
Oh,
like,
because she remembers everything?
Jack, I'm afraid to tell him. I'm afraid to tell Liz that I kissed her dad on New Year's.
This has been Gaze at the National Parks, the podcast, and we're here to remind you to hike early and hike often, and that adventure is always out there.
Gaze at the National Parks was created and is hosted by Dustin, Ballard, and Michael Ryan.
To see images from this episode, follow our Instagram at Gaze at the National Parks. To contact us, email us at gazeatthenationalparks@gmail.com. To find out more about Capitol Reef National Park and the other parks mentioned on the show, visit our website, gazeatthenationalparks.com, and that's Gaze, G-A-Z-E.
All original artwork featured on Instagram and on our website is by Michael Ryan.
All original music was written by Dave Seaman and performed by Dave Seaman, Mariella Klinger, and Sean Sklios. Our music producer is Skylar Fortgang.
This episode was edited by Dustin Ballard. We would also like to acknowledge that while hiking in Capitol Reef National Park, that we were on the traditional lands of the Ute, Paiute, Hopi, Zuni, and Navajo people.
Stay tuned for our end of Season 2 Summit episodes over the next month.